Skull Island is known to be an absolutely chaotic hellscape. Before Monarch's documentation of the island, alongside Packer's expedition in 1973, as well as even before Kong faced off against Ramorak, the island was already, to put it short, a death island. Featuring an absolute plethora of dangerous creatures, this would serve as the ultimate test for a constantly evolving species. The storm that surrounds the island leaves it completely isolated from the rest of the world. Every species that survives on this island is forced to adapt by either growing larger, becoming faster, and especially far more violent just to land a spot on the food chain. Whether it's the Skur Buffalo, the Spore Mantis, the Mother Longlegs, and even the protector of the island Kong, all of them are at risk to something even bigger. While it may have been the Skull Crawlers that nearly pushed Kong's species to extinction before he took over the island, Skull Island will be faced with something that may not seem as fearsome at first, but trust me when I tell you, the Xenomorphs have arrived and are ready to conquer. The Xenomorphs don't understand a concept like territory, such as the Skull Crawler's boneyard. The Xenomorphs exist to spread like a virus, swallowing anything in their path. The Xenomorphs may have been on their home turf at first, but this time, they'll be thrown right onto the MonsterVerse's incarnation of what is known as Skull Island. What if Xenomorphs invaded Skull Island? Hello everyone, I'm Minya FDA, here to manage what goes into your kaiju and sci-fi content for today. In today's video, we'll be taking the Xenomorphs, one of the deadliest alien species in all of media, and throwing them right into the hellscape that is Skull Island. The Xenomorphs were able to adapt and push back the assault of the Death Angels previously, but now that they're in uncharted territory, Kong, the Skull Crawlers, and all sorts of other horrors are waiting for their arrival. The invasion of the Xenomorphs begins just as many other invasions have started. An ancient engineer vessel drifts through space. Caught by Earth's gravitational field, it enters Earth's upper atmosphere. The storm that surrounds Skull Island pulls the spacecraft into its area. Lightning cracks across the sky as the aircraft spirals downward through the rain. It slams into the island as a shockwave erupts from the crash site. Half of the vessel is covered in black sand and partially submerged in the water. A wandering Skur Buffalo approaches the fallen craft, snorting and lowering its armored head towards the strange structure that towers above it. Leaf wings circle overhead like vultures. The ground shakes ever so slightly. A juvenile Skull Crawler is approaching fast, sprinting through the various tunnels beneath the island. The vibrations that rippled throughout the island as the aircraft had slammed into the ground had alerted almost every creature. The vessel's hangar door was at first bolted shut, but as a result of slamming into the island, the gate is barely hanging on, only slightly attached to the ship. What is inside this vessel is something not even Skull Island is prepared for. Eggs. Hundreds of them. They're dormant but still alive. The curious Skur Buffalo approaches the door, not sure as to what to make of it. Its long horns tear at what's left of the hangar door. Its shadow disappears into the ship. Eggs line the interior. Rows upon rows of them fill the bay of the ship. They've detected something. A warm, viable host approaching slowly. The egg splits open like a blooming flower. The Skur Buffalo takes notice, carefully approaching. But in the blink of an eye, a spider-like creature leaps out of the egg. It bounces right off of the Skur Buffalo. The creature is too large to wrap around. The facehugger crawls on its body, crawling right towards its snout. The Skur Buffalo is spooked, screaming in confusion. Its mouth is wide open and the facehugger crawls inside, being swallowed whole. The creatures that had heard the scuffle vanish back into the jungle. Just the usual occurrence on Skull Island for them. The buffalo begins to breathe heavily, its vision becoming foggy as it collapses to the ground. After a couple of hours, the Skur Buffalo rises from where it had fallen. It's disoriented, but it returns to where it had originally entered the vessel as if nothing happened. But the problems start appearing sooner rather than later. The embryo has developed inside its host, eating away at the Skur Buffalo's intestines, growing larger and larger by the minute. The Skur Buffalo's moving slow. The blood loss has turned into a critical injury. It collapses onto the ground, barely alive. Something is pushing out of its chest. Slowly but surely, it breaches its skin, letting out a screech as it scurries off, hiding until it's fully grown. Creatures of Skull Island take years to reach their full sizes, but this new creature, infused with the Xenomorph embryo, in only a matter of hours, it's grown to full size, sprouting a quadrupedal stance, longer legs that are much more muscular than the stubby limbs of the Skur Buffalo. This specimen features an elongated head that fuses into the hump on its host's back, but a noticeable change is present, a large protrusion which curves upward, sprouting from its head. With a loud screech, it begins to hunt. As a newly formed queen, it needs to be able to sustain and form a hive. It's much faster and durable than the standard Xenomorphs. The herd that the Skur Buffalo had wandered off from sees something in the distance approaching. Leaping through the air, it pounces onto one of the Skur Buffaloes, and then another. One by one, they're all incapacitated. The reinforced horns of the Skur Buffalo tear right through them, leaving them alive but severely injured. With the remaining herd fleeing in the opposite direction, the downed ones are dragged by their horns towards the ship. The juvenile Skullcrawler had heard the vibrations hours ago and had made nothing of it, but with the Skur Buffalo's sudden disappearance into the vessel, the young Skullcrawler's interest peaked, potentially an easy meal to score to quench its forever ongoing hunger. As it wanders into the downed craft, the encounter starts almost identically, except this time, right as the facehugger leaps towards the Skullcrawler's tongue shoots out, grabbing a hold of it and swallowing it. But this would be the last thing the Skullcrawler would consume. Within only the span of 24 hours, several of these Xenomorph hybrids are created. The catalyst for it all, the single Skur Buffalo. Just as the saying saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. Each of these hybrids results in their own queen, formulating into their own individual hives. The Skullcrawler's tunnel networks that run rampant throughout the island are used to make resin-lined tunnels. Hives sprout out all over the island, creatures being dragged into said tunnels to be impregnated as queens continue to lay eggs. But this new creature, the Xeno-Crawler, features a slightly elongated head. It retains the protruding skull feature of its host. With a biomechanical texture, spiked osteoderms on its back, as well as an armored ribcage, the Xeno-Crawler is an upgrade in every way. But most importantly, its chameleon-like tongue is now barred with protruding teeth, allowing it to rip the flesh off of an opponent. With the accelerated growth rate, it jumped to the size of the Skull Devil and even slightly bigger within only a couple of hours. Seeing the juveniles disappear one at a time, the big one finally emerges from the depths of the island. But instead of being met with open air, a creature larger than itself pounces right onto it, ripping one of its arms off in an instant. The Xeno-Crawler is superior in every way: size, strength, speed, and of course, its physical capabilities. Packing razor-sharp claws and a jagged pincer on its tail, it coils its tail around to the side and drives it into the skull of the Skull Devil, killing it instantly. There was no need to keep it alive. There were plenty of juvenile Skullcrawlers that can be infected into much larger threats already. The initial crash site has become the ground zero for the infection. Tunnels are dug directly into the ground to connect the downed vessel to the rest of the system. The eggs that are being held there are brought to the chambers. Facehuggers pry their way into the downed creatures that have been dragged there, waiting to become something far worse. Many of these creatures have become a queen of their own, following each other to create one giant hive with several queens. But one of them in particular, the Xeno-Crawler, this one is larger than the rest. Despite being slightly bigger than the Skull Devil, it's grown even larger, a genetic mutation of sorts. The competition isn't welcomed by it. Any queen it finds in its path is ripped into pieces. Over time, the Xeno-Crawler queen has reached the next stage of the hierarchy of the Xenomorphs, and Empress, being much larger than the average Xeno-Crawler queen. It supports a much broader frame, as well as an ovipositor, capable of producing eggs at rates faster than the traditional Xenomorph queen. The accelerated metabolism of the Skullcrawlers and growth of the Xenomorphs makes the Xeno-Crawler Empress the apex of the island. Its inner jaw is not only far more dangerous, but alongside the accelerated speed of laying eggs, it can implant embryos into the larger hosts without the need of a facehugger. The infection of the island speeds up. Kong finally responds. In the matter of merely a day, the whole island is flipped upside down. Kong looks at all the deceased corpses scattered everywhere, holes in each of their chests. As the guardian of the island, no matter the threat, he needs to respond accordingly. Not all of the infected creatures became queens. Those who were impregnated in the chambers are smaller versions of their queen counterparts. Warriors, Praetorians, and drones help manage the plethora of hives across the island. Kong arrives at the boneyard. The Skullcrawlers are missing, but all of a sudden, a wave of these smaller Xeno hybrids rush out of the tunnel, scaling his body. They grip into his fur and flesh, but Kong is too large at this point in time. He swats them away effortlessly and crushes a couple of them in his hands. Considering these hybrids have Titan and Xenomorph DNA, the acid eats straight through his muscle tissue. He roars, slamming multiple into the mountains. Praetorians have joined the assault as well, latching onto his back and shoulders, digging into his flesh. He rips them off and throws them as far as he can as they splat onto the ground. Each one he kills results in bits and pieces of him disappearing. Kong is making quick work of the standard Xenomorphs, but he's taking significant damage. With most of them dead, Kong's might has seemingly triumphed in this scenario, but this doesn't last long. With the ground shaking as if an earthquake was occurring on demand, the jagged spines of the Xeno-Crawler pierce through the ground, burrowing towards Kong. Kong braces for his last stand. The Empress leaps out of the dirt and wraps around Kong. He was aware of the big one's presence, but this was nothing like anything he's ever seen. The Xeno-Crawler Empress is nearly twice the size of Kong and much faster. It slams him into the ground and topples over him. Kong throws a wild punch which rocks the crest of the Empress. The creature recovers instantly and its pincer whips around and impales Kong's thigh. Acid spews out of the opening in the pincer, burning right through his leg. With Kong distracted by the pain, the inner jaw shoots out of the Xeno-Crawler's jaw, coiling around his neck before being inserted into Kong's jaw. After a couple of seconds, Kong is knocked out, now being unconscious. He had tried to break free, but with his injuries and being constricted by the crawler's limbs, there was nothing he could do. The threat of Kong was not only taken care of, but would soon be added to the Xenomorph army. Skull Island has already transformed biologically, but is now under physical evolution. Resin covers the ancient Iwi ruins. Skull Island is only the beginning of what could happen to Earth, a new Xenomorph prime. After a couple of hours, Kong's body has been left on the ground, surrounded by smaller Xenomorphs, awaiting their new member of the hive. With the Empress's manual injection of a host, Kong was permanently unconscious. His body begins to convulse violently, and at last, the chest burster emerges. But this one was different. This is what happens when you mix an Alpha Titan and a Xenomorph embryo. The larvae instantly scurried out of the body. The surrounding creatures look in confusion. Instead of joining their ranks, it vanishes into the jungle in order to grow. Its limbs leak acid as it slithers along the ground, melting stone instantly. A couple days have passed now. Any previous creature that inhabited Skull Island is either dead or has become something far worse. Resin covers nearly 3/4 of the island, not seeming to slow down. A thundering boom is heard, flattening the remaining trees in the area. A Xeno-Crawler approaches this massive creature, recognizing the pheromones it's emitting, but this creature does not respond to the hive. The Alpha Titan DNA of Kong has seemingly overridden the hive. It grabs the Xeno-Crawler, lifting it high into the air, ripping it in half. Acid pours onto this new version of Kong, having zero effect. The news spreads quickly throughout the culmination of hives. Word gets back to the Empress. She detaches from her sack and heads out of the tunnel. Several of the smaller Xeno-Crawlers follow in pursuit to confront the disobedient specimen. After exiting the tunnel, the Empress turns its head right and is sent barreling into the others. They didn't need to go searching. The Xeno-Kong is here to claim the hive for its own. All by himself, his shadow is cast onto the smaller but numerous Xeno-Crawlers. A Xenomorph civil war. The Empress confronts Xeno-Kong directly, leaping towards him. While fighting the previous alive Kong, she had an overwhelming size advantage, but this time, the scale is flipped. The Empress and the others scale its body, trying to stab into the creature. This version of Kong has insane muscle density. It resists the attempts to impale his hide and throws them off of him one by one. But the Empress is keeping up. Despite the size disadvantage, her speed is giving her a fighting chance. The newly formed hybrid retaliates with something of its own. The Xeno-Kong's strength is a league above the rest. He rips apart her ovipositor and in one clean swing, severs her head clean off with her own weapon. The Empress, now dead, still has its soldiers fighting. Those who sided with the Empress as the ruler of the hive launch themselves at the Xeno-Kong. Despite having zero chance, their fighting spirit is to avenge their fallen leader. However, their courage falls apart, literally. The smaller Xeno-Crawlers that fought alongside the Empress are thrown off, ripped apart, and slammed into the ground, acid littering the area. After a long battle, only one creature is left standing, and that is the new ruler of the hive, the Xeno-Kong. As the now enormous hive erupts out of the ground, the hybrids see their champion. With Xeno-Kong seeming to be the strongest creature, they follow its orders. The hive reforms, but in a different way. Xeno-Kong rips apart the excess amount of queens. Any challenge to its leadership is dealt with. In this new hive, fewer queens are included, but stronger variations are made. Selective reproduction allows for the hive to not only have a large amount numbers-wise, but some of the strongest variations of a xenomorph that have ever been created. Skull Island has been transformed from this isolated battle arena to a command center. This is only the start of what's to come to the monsterverse's Earth. Godzilla has sensed this disturbance on Skull Island and had headed for the island hours ago. The new Empress commands the hive to march alongside it, moving from the center of the island outward to the shore, with one goal in mind: to terraform the planet. Before they step on forward into the water, a three-line pattern of jagged shapes pierces the water. The hive hesitates and stares onward. A towering figure emerges from the ocean. With a loud roar that echoes throughout the island, it's Godzilla, the planet's defender, the alpha of the Titans. He's come to put an end to whatever in God's name has been going on the island. With a low hum being heard, Godzilla's dorsal plates begin to illuminate blue, slowly scaling his body. Each dorsal plate lights up slowly, all the way up to his head. Godzilla lets out a shattering roar and rears back. Godzilla versus the Xeno-Titan hive. Who will win? And there we have it, everyone. If the Xenomorphs invaded Skull Island, slowly but surely, they'd terraform the island into their own mini version of Xenomorph Prime. Smaller creatures would become larger, deadlier versions of their previous selves, and slowly becoming even larger with every new host, joining together to form a colony of vicious hybrids capable of taking over the planet. With their newly crowned Empress, the Xeno-Kong, but only one thing can stand a chance against their army: Godzilla. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, as I had an awesome time writing it. As a massive Monsterverse and Alien fan, I just had to do a crossover of the two franchises and put them on none other than Skull Island. And I'll tell y'all this, if this video gets enough support and you guys really want part 2 to see how it would end between Godzilla and the hive, I'll make a follow-up. And I just have to shout out my artists Sam, Vaz, and Karns for making the thumbnail and art pieces you see in the video. Without them, I doubt I could visually tell the story and make it as entertaining as it could be. Make sure to check out their socials. And lastly, thank you to my channel members. If you want to see videos early, as well as shoutouts like this, then consider becoming a member of the channel. With all that out of the way, I've been your host, Minya FDA, managing what goes into your kaiju and alien content for today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And make sure to remember what Godzilla told Manila. See ya!
Godzilla says that I should learn to fight my own battles, you know.